The Stanley Cup is in the building, folks. ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦੋਸਤੋ Stanley Cup ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ 'ਚ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ 3-0 ਜਿੱਤਦੇ ਆ ਫਲੋਰੀਡਾ ਪੈਂਥਰਸ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਮੌਕਾ ਕੱਪ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਦੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਮਦੋਂ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਆਇਲਰਸ ਲਈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਇਸ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੇਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੱਤੇ ਪਰ ਹਰੇਕ ਗੇਮ ਨਵੀਂ ਗੇਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋ ਜਣੇ ਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਾਜਾ ਸ਼ੇਰਗਿੱਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੇਨ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਤੇ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਤਕਦੀਰ ਠਿੰਡਲ ਨਾਲੇ ਕਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਥੋੜੀ ਅਦਲਾ ਬਦਲੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਵੀ ਲਾਈਨ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਆ
ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੱਢਤਾ ਅੱਜ ਅਸਲ 'ਚ ਇਹੀ ਸੱਚਾਈ ਆ
ਅੱਛਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ
ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪੇ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਂਭਲਣਾ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਟੀਮਮੇਟ ਇਹਦੇ ਮੰਗਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਕਿ ਕਦੋਂ ਜਮਾ ਦੋ ਸਥਿਤੀ Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup final ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਤਾਂ ਗਏ ਸੀ but they've run into a team like the Florida Panthers that has been an absolute juggernaut. They've been a locomotive train running them over. Even though Edmonton's played pretty well in some of those games. What is the mentality tonight for this Edmonton Oilers team?
They got to just keep pushing, man. I mean, just looking at the goals, that's one way of looking at this game. They've come closer every game, but they're putting up more shots. They're getting some of those lucky goals. We saw that in the last game too, right? One went off Mikola's shoulder, even the tip off the point shot by Kulak, McLeod with the tip. Like, get the pucks on net, and obviously there's going to be a better chance of somehow beating Bobrovsky because he's not going to let anything easy in. If he sees the shot, it's not going in basically, unless it's a breakaway like Fogle.
Well, that's really this series of Bobrovsky's been the big talking point, but I want to say two things. Bobrovsky, as of right now, for many is the Conn Smythe leader. You know, if the series ends up wrapping up today, most have him as that number one option. But I also want to say the defense.
Oh yeah.
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਲੋਰੀਡਾ ਦਾ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਇੰਨਾ ਤਕੜਾ ਫੋਰਚੈਕ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਬਲਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਵੀ ਆਈਸ ਦਾ remember these are two of the best players on the planet on the other side Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and even though they've had zone time, they've had possession time, based on the numbers they still haven't been given up all that much to this, really effective Edmonton Oilers team.
Oh yeah, no goals for the top guns
and
on the
it's
Oilers.
Even beyond Bobrovsky is my point.
Exactly, yeah, it is beyond Bobrovsky. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's plugging up that neutral zone. The defense, we talk about Forsling and the others, but yeah, they're also plugging up that neutral zone, and the forecheck, of course, is great. But their offensive players are playing defense. I mean, Barkov is a Selke winner. He can play defense as well as any defenseman. But Tkachuk and Bennett, all these guys are putting the pressure on Edmonton and forcing him into these bad turnovers.
All right, in a do-or-die game like this, we call it Kado Jamado if you're not a non-Punjabi speaker watching our live, which is always welcome. In these types of games, though, the margin for error is very, very thin, right? Beating a hot goaltender is going to be so difficult against Bobrovsky. But even beyond that, mistakes. ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਨੇ ਕਰਵਾਏ ਸੀ those are all self-inflicted to a certain degree. In a game like this where your back's against the wall, like what do we expect to see from Edmonton in that regard?
No mental errors. I mean, Stuart Skinner had that giveaway behind the net. Bouchard had a giveaway. Nurse had a giveaway. All of those plays led to goals on the other end for Florida. So you got to protect the puck. If you're not sure what's going to happen, just worst case scenario, just hold on to the puck, pin it against the board. Don't try to make that fancy cross-ice pass or something in front of the net. Even on this, Barkov took it away at the blue line from Bouchard, took it the other way, and you know what? Florida gets a goal by Sam Reinhart there. So those mistakes by the Oilers, like this one here by Stuart Skinner, bad giveaway behind the net, another goal by Tarasenko in front of the net there. So 3 out of the 4 goals were directly off of bad turnovers by the Edmonton Oilers, and you can't have that in especially in an elimination game like this.
Turnovers are one thing; they have to play hard as well. And that, Stuart Skinner, he makes the mistake. Cody Cece's really soft on that puck.
He is.
You cannot have games like tonight where your season is on the line. You got to leave it all out there, and being second to a puck. ਅੱਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਬਣਨੀ because you're playing for your season. I've got my golf socks on right now, and for the Edmonton Oilers, you're hoping you're not golfing very soon, but that's the reality against a team like Florida. But you're going to have moments where they're going to find those pressure points. You just can't cave.
We got to see desperation today, and that's from the offensive players too on the Oilers. So whether that's Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman, they got to be using their speed and their physicality to forecheck. I know that's not their style of game on a day-to-day basis throughout the season, but they got to do whatever they can to win this game today.
Well, you brought it up, the big guns of the Edmonton Oilers, and it's pretty wild. Let's back it up here. Leon Draisaitl has 28 points in these playoffs. A donut in the first 3 games of this Stanley Cup final. He didn't have a 3-game pointless drought during the regular season at all at any point. That's over an 82-game schedule, and in this series, he's been completely shut down.
I find it hard to believe. I mean, at least McDavid's been putting pucks on net. He's been picking up some assists. It's still not great that he has no goals, but yeah, I don't know where Leon's been. I mean, they've definitely neutralized his style of play. He's had some looks, like even on the power play, he had his signature one-timer from the circle there. Just Bobrovsky saved it. He also kind of shot it right into him. So they've been having some bad luck, you can say. They're definitely getting some opportunities to score, but yeah, just gotta do more. Gotta see more from Leon Draisaitl, Connor, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins, everybody on that. The Edmonton Oilers, the top end stars. You got to see some more from them.
I think there's going to be criticism. नुक्ताचीनी होनी Edmonton चे कि यार ड्राइसेल ने कख नहीं कीता, डेविड तो भी घट होया, एवन बूशार्ड जेदी बल्ले बल्ले हो रही सी वेस्टर्न कॉन्फ्रेंस फाइनल तक होते भी नहीं कुछ बड़ा होया तो ज़ैक हाइमन ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਰੈਕੋਰਡ ਤੋੜ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਗੋਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ Stanley Cup final ਚ he could set the record potentially for most goals in a playoff. We haven't seen that from Zach Hyman. How much of that is on their players potentially running out of gas? And how much of it is the Florida Panthers doing their job so well?
Florida's, they took a lot of penalties, but aside from the penalties, they're a very disciplined team in terms of their structure, right? They play that tough defense, and Edmonton did have to go through a couple of tight checking teams, Vancouver and Dallas, right? The first round maybe was easy with the Kings, but yeah, they have had a battle defensively trying to get through these teams that play this structure, and Florida is the best of them, right? And they can also counterattack with great offense on the other end. They've got the speed to keep up with the Oilers. So ਔਖਾ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਾ ਹੈ ਓਇਲਰਸ ਲਈ ਕਨੈਕਟਸ ਦਾ ਡੈਲਸ ਦੇ ਵਿਰੁੱਧ ਟੈਸਟ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਦੋਨੇ ਹੀ ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਅਸਲੀ ਇਮਤਿਹਾਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੇਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ
ਓਇਲਰਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦੋ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਦੀ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਮਾੜੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਵੀ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਜਿੱਤਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਗੇਮਾਂ ਹਾਰ ਗਏ ਪਰ ਐਂਡ 'ਚ 7 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਲੱਭ ਲਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਹੁਨਰ ਆ ਲੱਭ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਦਾ ਧੂੰਆਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਿਆ ਐਂਡ 'ਚ ਡੈਲਸ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਧੂੰਆਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਿਆ that was an relatively easy series for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, easier than expected.
ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਟਾਈਲ ਫਲੋਰੀਡਾ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਆ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਧੂਆਂ ਤੇਲ ਜੋ ਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਓਇਲਰਸ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਿਆ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਪੱਖੋਂ I think you have to bank on bringing that hard work, bringing that mentality of you're not going to back down, and you need your special players to be your special players because this is just to give you a little bit of history. There's been 28 3-zip leads in the Stanley Cup final in history, and 27 of those times that team has won the Stanley Cup. Only once, 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs came back to win that series. So history tells us it's going to be almost impossible, and 20 of those teams, I should mention also, ended up sweeping the opposition. So even winning one game is tough enough when you're down 3-0.
Yeah, the odds are stacked against the Oilers. So yeah, I mean, they got to win one. You got to start with one game. So ਇੱਕ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਨਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ 'ਚ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇਖੋ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਫੇ
ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਜੀ ਰੋਜਰਸ ਪਲੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਿਆਰੀਆਂ ਬੋਬਰੋਵਸਕੀ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਾਥੀ ਤਿਆਰ ਪਰ ਤਿਆਰ ਤਾਂ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਕਿ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਈਨਅਪ you don't expect any changes from the Florida Panthers. Chris Knobloch said, hey, I might surprise you. I'll have to let you know a little bit later on. You'd expect Evander Kane to miss a second consecutive game based on whatever is bothering him. But this is something we're going to watch very closely. I know Taqdeed and Muntader as well in terms of Edmonton. Do they make any additional changes? Because you mentioned it. There were some mistakes in that last game that cost them.
There were, yeah. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter yet or X, ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਹਾਂ ਲਾਈਨਅਪ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫੇਸ ਆਫਸ ਹੈ ਰਣਦੀਪ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਾਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਓਇਲਰਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਗੇਮ 'ਚ ਉਹ ਵਧੀਆ ਫੇਸ ਆਫ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੋ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਲਾਈਨਅਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਅੱਜ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਾਰਕੋਵ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਦਾਨ ਤੇ ਟੌਪ ਦਾ ਡਿਫੈਂਸਿਵ ਆਫੈਂਸਮੈਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਇਹ ਆਫੈਂਸਿਵ ਖਿਡਾਰੀ ਸੈਲਕੀ ਜੇਤੂ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਡਰ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਖੇਡਣਾ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਗੇਮ 'ਚ ਪਰ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਤੇ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ
ਸ਼ਾਹ ਗਿਆ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ European captains ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਦਾ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਟੀਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੈਨਲੀ ਕੱਪ ਜਿਤਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੇ ਅੱਜ ਜਿੱਤ ਗਏ ਫਲੋਰੀਡਾ ਪੈਂਥਰਸ ਸੋ ਕਮਾਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ NHL ਦੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਟੈਨਲੀ ਕੱਪ ਜਿੱਤਣਾ
ਤੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਯੂਰੋਪੀਅਨ ਕੈਪਟਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ
ਕੈਪਟਨਸ ਨੇ ਜਿੱਤੇ ਆ ਲੈਂਡਸਕਾਗ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਅਲੈਗਜ਼ੈਂਡਰ ਓਵੇਚਕਿਨ ਤਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ
ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਮਿਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ 2 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੀ ਗੈਬਰੀਅਲ ਲੈਂਡਸਕਾਗ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਲਿਡਸਟ੍ਰੋਮ
ਹਾਂ
ਤਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਚੇਤਾ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਚੇਤਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਚੇਤਾ
ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੁਣ 4 ਜਣੇ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂ
ਯਾ Okay, we got to move on with this. It'll come back to me anyways. But if you know, please hit us up in the comments and embarrass us. There's 4 captains that have won of European background to win the Stanley Cup. We got 3 of them. We're missing the 4th one. All right, Conn Smythe, though.
Yes.
Barkov could also win the Conn Smythe.
He could.
Maybe But in your point of view, is it him? Is it somebody else? Is it Bobrovsky?
It's tight, man. I got to say Bobrovsky at this point because, you know, Edmonton has had chances. They have had opportunities to score, but Bobrovsky has been the guy. He's the last line of defense. He's kept the Florida Panthers ahead and in games when Oilers are putting on pressure. So, in my opinion, it's still Sergei Bobrovsky. Started with the shutout, 1 goal in the second game. And I know the last game there were 3 goals scored on him, but, you know, 2 of those were third period at the end with the Oilers pressuring, trying to get back into the game. A couple of deflected pucks, so not really his fault. A breakaway goal, I mean, any goalie is going to have a tough time on a breakaway. So I think, in my opinion, it's still by like a tiny little bit, by a hair, Sergei Bobrovsky is the Conn Smythe.
Okay, I disagree on that, friend, because I think Barkov, the way he can dictate the game and the way he is so smart and he essentially forces teams into making bad decisions. We talk about mistakes in that last game by the Edmonton Oilers, like the Evan Bouchard giveaway at the opposition, the attacking blue line, and Barkov goes back the other way, starts that, and then the other goal later on, which he scores himself. Just such a smart player. I think offensive, and remember, playoffs the MVP ਦੇ award ਹੈ ਕੱਲਾ ਇਸ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਇਸ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਈ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਐਵਨ ਰੋਡਰੀਗਸ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨੇ 3 ਗੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ I would say over the totality of the playoffs for me Barkov's been the most valuable player. Even though Bobrovsky's had a big impact on this series, I think
even the other series, I think Bobrovsky's been great.
I think Barkov is better though. Just over shutting down Pasternak, Panarin, right? Eichel, or sorry, not Eichel, in the first earlier on in the you had Kucherov is the name I'm searching for. I think so many, players that he's been able to shut down. I think that resume stacks up after a while.
You know, I think if Florida wins this game today, whoever has more of an impact on the game out of those 2 today will probably win it. I think that's how close it is, right? If Bobrovsky stands on his head, it's a shutout or a 1-goal game, and he makes unbelievable stops, he's probably going to get it. But if Barkov today plays unreal, he's probably going to get it.
All right, let's see.
It's close.
Let's see. You picked Connor McDavid to win the Conn Smythe with the Florida Panthers winning. So
I was hedging my bet.
You were.
There's a strategic play,
and I don't know how smart that was, but that's all right. That's all right. So I do want to also talk about, I was in New York early this past week. New York ਗਿਆ ਸੀ T20 World Cup ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਟੀਮ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਤਿਆਰ ਕੀਤਾ we'll have a special preview. Look at this great bowling over here. I'm sure I would have snatched a wicket if there was a batter there. Got some practice as well. Rizwan Cheema ਜੋ ਕਿ GTA ਦੇ ਖਿਡਾਰੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਬੈਟਿੰਗ ਕੋਚ ਆ ਆਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਤਿਆਰ ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ kilometers per hour ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ 30-40 ਹੋਣਾ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ 20 but we'll have a piece on that. Awesome to be out there talking to Team Canada, and there are some hockey connections as well. So we got about karange. So
definitely look like a first timer. Not gonna lie, you definitely look like you have never played cricket in your life before.
I played when I was 11, and I thought it was easier. Right. I have a lot of respect for those guys. What they do is not easy. The mechanics of the body, just the way that. Really, really nice guys as well. A lot of them based in Toronto and Vancouver from our Punjabi community. Okay. Ready to go? We're ready to go here. Oilers fans, maybe your team can extend this series. Panthers fans, you might have the first Stanley Cup in your franchise history. We're going to have it on Omni Television coming up next. That's right, Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi, Game 4. We're bringing it. They're ready in Edmonton, and I'm sure they're ready in Florida. देखते रहना जी on थोड़े चेचे Omni Television पे.
It started like a little